Instagram's not getting the love. Good morning, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Live. Glad to be here in another edition of Mental Health Matters. Yesterday, I shared my story, and I wanted to get more into the nuts and bolts of my recovery, what worked for me, what enabled me, empowered me to be able to accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish, despite having a mental health condition. If you are new, you're watching this for the first time, let me know where you are from. If you've watched before, if you're watching live, or if you're watching the recording, let me know if you get anything out of this. Comment, direct message me if you have any questions. Certainly, I'm doing this for the purpose of trying to help people struggling with mental health issues. So if that's you, then please, by all means, send me a question and I'll get to you as soon as I possibly can. Shout outs to, anyone watching. Grateful that anybody wants to spend any amount of time listening to me. So my name is Michael Towers. I am the CEO of Speaking of Your Success, which, as I shared yesterday, it's a one-man operation in Halethorpe, Maryland, that has yet to earn $1 for its true purpose, which is professional speaking for mental health and addiction. I have used it as a tax break. I used it for my email and website. So Speaking of Your Success has been useful, but I can't wait for it to actualize into what I intended to be. So I feel like I'm a subject matter expert in the areas of leadership, mental health, addiction, and college success. So college success because I've accomplished it, earned a couple of degrees, subject matter in the areas of mental health because I have it. I've navigated life with it. I've been successful despite it. And I went to school for psychology and counseling. And addiction, I'm 22 years sober. Have a recovery background that doesn't just include not taking a drink, but all the work that it takes to change. And I've been able to do that. I would say leadership because I've spent a career as a project manager and a leader, a shop steward. I've led up to 120 men in a given day. And so I know what it takes to lead. And I lead from a servant leadership perspective, which is kind of a bottom-up service leadership model where it's not, kind of a boss barking down, but it's more of a leader kind of being there, supporting, guiding. And I would say that a servant leader kind of judges his leadership based on whether the people that he leads are healthy. So, my passion is to help people recovering from the damaging consequences of mental illness, addiction, and family dysfunction. I want to utilize the knowledge that I have to improve the lives of people that suffer, plain and simple. I have overcome so many circumstances, and I talked a lot about this yesterday, that should have defeated me, but my goal is to show others how to overcome the obstacles meant to defeat them. So my message is that no matter your hurts, your mistakes, or your diagnosis, you can accomplish anything and live a life beyond your wildest dreams. And I've experienced that. When I dropped out of college in 1999 due to mental disorder, I was hopeless. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I thought because I quit drinking, I would be successful in college. And what ended up happening is that I had more trouble sober than I did drinking. And I probably, a lot of that has to do with the fact that marijuana and alcohol are depressants, and they slowed me down a bunch. And without those depressants, my mind was all over the place, and it was very hard to concentrate on college. My number one focus at that time was college, and my number one issue was my ability to focus. Another motivation for wanting to do this is that oftentimes people struggling with mental health issues and addiction cause unintended damage. One alcoholic affects 7 different people. So they're causing all sorts of unintended damage. You'll hear alcoholics say all the time, well, I'm not hurting anyone else. I'm only hurting myself. And that's just not the reality. So hurting people hurt people, and I have a heart for helping hurting people. So my hope is that I can empower others to positively impact the people that they love, lead, and live near. And I hired a speaking coach in October, and the first thing he wanted me to do was become a leadership speaker. And I thought, no, I just want to share my story to anyone that's hopeless with mental health disorders and want to accomplish their goals and live their best life, but have no idea how. Leadership speaker, speaking to corporations, business, didn't compute until I did a lot of research. And most people spend all their time at work. And I realized that I could make the biggest impact in the workplace. So empowering leaders to lead better has a cascading effect that can be exponentially powerful. So if I help a leader, right, lead well, create an environment that is conducive for mental health for their employees, and their employees are healthier, then they go home and make the people around them healthier, their families, their communities, their friends. So again, my biggest impact could be as a leadership speaker in the workplace. So by educating organizations on the strategies to address mental health issues, their employees will become healthier, and the results affect the bottom line. My whole idea for Speaking to Your Success was to help organizations reach their highest potential. And I do that by empowering leaders with principles that transform company culture. So that's enough about me. That's enough about Speaking of Your Success. Of course, I am my favorite subject, so talking about me is easy. The topic that I want to get into today, and I shared yesterday my story. I was talking to a friend today at the gym. I get up at the gym 4:45 in the morning. Exercise is huge for my mental health. Briefly, exercise creates endorphins. It ties into the reward pathway in the brain, the dopamine reward pathway. It's the natural painkillers of the body. It's happy chemicals. It makes you happier. Exercise lowers cortisol. Even 20 minutes of moderate exercise will lower cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So you will walk away with less stress. And exercise regulates sleeping patterns. And if you're anything like me with mental disorder, sleep is probably one of the most important things for me. So exercise is huge. I will devote an entire live on exercise for mental health alone. But I was talking to my friend, and he said, I watched your video and you left it all out there. And that, I think, when I've struggled, because I've worked in entertainment for 27 years. I've been behind audio and video consoles, behind cameras, listening to motivational speakers speak. And I always struggled because, like, I could be at the Chamber of Commerce in DC and listen to the CEO of Chobani, right, yogurt, who has done amazing things and is using his money for great purpose, and thought, well, what have I invented? You know, what have I done? What it was my qualifications to get out there and tell people how to live their best life? And all I can say about my life, and I'm not a victim today. I've been a victim before, but the hand that I was dealt, and my hand, believe me, wasn't as tough as some people's hand. But, you know, coming from a divorced home, having two addicts as parents, struggling with my own alcoholism, having bipolar disorder, I felt like it was a losing card hand. And statistically, you know, the outcomes for having those things as experiences in life, they're not good. I should have died a violent death. I have been shot at. I've shot guns at people. I should be locked up for the rest of my life. And those things didn't happen. So when I think about the things that I've accomplished, I've taken a losing poker hand, someone that should have been locked up for the rest of their lives or died a violent death. And what I did is I turned it into a winning hand, and I succeeded. You know, the idea that I would go from college dropout to 2 degrees, or from sleeping in my car to owning my own home, to, you know, taking a credit card and maxing it out to put gas in the car, only to pay enough of it to have like that $5 difference where I could put it in the gas pump again and max it out to fill up my gas tank, to having thousands of dollars in multiple accounts it's unheard of. And obviously the biggest thing, because if you ask me, Michael, what's the biggest thing that you've gotten from 22 years of sobriety and treating your mental health? And I would tell you that it's the 5 seconds that I have to think before I act. You know, this morning is an example where I have a neighbor who hates my dogs because my dogs bark. And I'm here to tell you, I've done everything that I possibly can to remedy the situation. I used to let the dogs come and go all night if they needed to. But what I've done is I've closed the door at 9. I don't let them out till 6. I've made adjustments, but they don't see that. Recently, I went over there to hand them my business card to tell them, listen, if you want the dogs put up, if you're going to take a nap, if they're bothering you, just text me and I'll put the dogs inside. And he said, F your business card. And to that, I responded by jumping the fence and saying, okay, look, if this is the way it's going to be, then we just need to go ahead and handle this like men in the street, because some people only learn in tactical language. And not my best moment as a counselor, as a professional speaker in mental health. He could be hurting. He could be one of those hurting people. And this is how I'm acting. And this morning I walked out and, there he is cussing out the window at my dogs again. So didn't have the nicest things to say to them. So, I make mistakes. But as a speaker, as I was sharing with the Japani yogurt guy, I say I'm a businessman now. I own a company or whatever, but I am a business man. So being a businessman and turning that losing hand into a winning hand is something that I think that I can offer. So today, anyway, I believe that I have something to say. And you let me know. Again, comment if you learned something, comment if I helped, share any of this stuff if it's helpful. I know statistically, and I'll get into statistics, I'll talk about a lot of that stuff, how many people struggle with mental health issues. I believe right now it's 1 in 4 people around you struggle with a mental health issue. So I know there's people out there that this message could help, which is why I'm doing it. Right now, I'm not compensated for this. This is solely to try to make some type of difference, because as I shared yesterday, when I dropped out of college, I was sitting on a bench outside the admin building, crying my eyes out because I didn't know what was wrong with me. And as soon as I experienced success, I wanted to go back to that bench and talk to me. And I feel like if there's a me out there sleeping in his car, right, hopeless, at rock bottom, that something I might say, that it's possible, that regardless of this diagnosis, that if you accept it, if you treat it, right, if you get help for it, you have a life beyond your wildest dreams. And that's why I'm doing this. So help me, help other people, share it, comment. A lot of these things with social media are all about an algorithm. If you comment, if you do those types of things, the message will spread. So what I wanted to, and I'm a little scattered, it's the thing about live. And I think as I think about this, preparing more will help me stay on topic. But as I think about all these speakers that I watched and where I would fit in and would I be qualified to do this, what I realize is that authenticity, that honesty, being real is definitely my niche. So yesterday, if you watched the rerun, 45 minutes, I talked about everything from sleeping in my car to looking for a mattress in a dumpster because I needed a bed, to soliciting prostitutes because I didn't want to be lonely, to second-degree burglary, to not wanting to live but being too much of a coward to kill myself, right? Because I'm homicidal. I'm not suicidal. I've always felt, I'm not knocking suicide people. I'm just saying that if I kill everybody around me, I'm not going to want to kill myself. I'm going to be good. So homicidal guy. So give me my shoelaces and my belt back, because I'd much rather your life over mine any day. But my goal for today was to talk about psychiatry. I didn't do enough research, but I know my experience is what I'll share on psychiatry. And what I'll do is I'll provide some materials coming off of this live to do its justice with regards to how to select a psychiatrist. If you don't have health insurance, what options are available, how to get health insurance. So, my experience with mental health clinicians and treatment was when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, when my mom had me in the therapist office and the psychiatrist had me punching a pillow. I didn't know, when I went through that CAT scan at Georgetown University and this machine's making all this noise, what the heck was wrong with me? Like, I must be jacked up to be in this spaceship getting my brain tested. And I was always in trouble, and I couldn't think before I act, and I did things that I didn't want to do, and no idea why. But punching this pillow, talking about feelings, looking at ink plots and talking about what they meant, just didn't compute. I wanted to be hanging out with my friends. I did not want to be in a therapist's office doing that nonsense. As I look back to any mental health clinicians that I could talk to, and I am a counselor. I'm a substance abuse counselor. I've done a lot with mental health as well. Right now, I have 6 clients that I'm seeing with co-occurring disorders. So I get to do the mental health piece too. Although I will tell you, with the seriously mentally ill, all I can do is just be there and empathize, because I don't know what to do with someone that thinks that every person's a non-human clone, and that Jesus doesn't want them to talk to clones or they'll go to hell. So they don't work because they'd be surrounded by clones. And I don't know what to do with that other than listen and be there. And sometimes, well, you know what? Most times that's enough. So what I would say about that therapist back in the fourth grade, fifth grade, is that it would have been very helpful for me to understand the implications of what I was dealing with, and that how important treatment and therapy, even though I didn't understand it, would be for me to be, where I wanted to be in life. And I know even then I had goals. I mean, I knew that I didn't want to be suspended 23 times in the eighth grade like I was. And if the conversation could have been this could equal, you not getting in trouble anymore, made sense to me. And so the next time that I sought out help for my mental disorder was when I dropped out of college and I got sober. And so I get sober in November of 98. I go back to college in 99. And at that time, when I'm starting to struggle and I took a full medical withdrawal because of mental disorder, my mother said, Michael, if you go back to seeing a doctor and you get back on medication, it could help. And she remembers when I told her when I was younger that, she says that I said Ritalin helped the voices in my head that told me to do bad things go away. And I think what I probably meant, because I don't remember voices, was that it gave me time to think before I acted. And if I could have slowed down my mind that semester in 99 and concentrated and taken in the material, I would have succeeded, right? So when my mom said, if you get back to seeing a doctor and taking meds, it could help you. Well, I wanted to succeed, and she's telling me this was the way to do that. So I went with it. And, at that time, I don't know what my insurance situation was or what options were available to me, but I got a psychiatrist. And, first, to talk about psychiatry as a practice, please know that, there is no scientific formula for a person sitting across from you, talking to you for 15 or 20 minutes, and then deciding what's wrong with you, and then treating you based on the opinion that they had. And honestly, I have two disorders. I have bipolar disorder, bipolar 1, the bad boy, and ADHD. And those two disorders, in a lot of ways, kind of overlap each other with symptoms. So I had one doctor, as I was older, identify the ADHD and treat it, and another doctor that missed it and admitted that later on. So here's a perfect example of the doctor I had from 2006 to 2017 missing a diagnosis. And that for me to be the best person that I could possibly be would have required treating, this other disorder, and it went unchecked. So what I'm saying, and my psychiatrist was phenomenal, changed my life. So what I would say about psychiatry is people are going to observe my rate of speech, the things that I'm saying, the thoughts, and my mood, and they're going to decide from that what's my issue, what my diagnosis is, and how to treat it, what meds to take, right? So another thing I'll add to that is when it comes to substance abuse, it is very, very hard it's like pinning a tail on a donkey. It's like trying to hit a moving target when someone's using substances that make them up or down, and for a doctor to be able to try to discern what's going on with them as a person when their substance is affecting, what's going on with them. So it's very tough. So I think in order to treat mental health, abusing substances can't happen. I mean, think about being on a diet and exercising regularly. If you eat a whole pizza and you were going to go to the gym, chances are you're not going to go to the gym. You're going to feel like crap. You ate pizza. So what's the point anyway? I'm just going to not go to the gym. And I think a lot of times when someone's using substances, cocaine, alcohol, heroin, why take psych meds? What's the point? I'm not going to my doctor's appointment. I'm a mess. I'm using, so therapy, psychiatry, and substance abuse, they have to be treated parallel. And if they're not, one will upset the other, right? If I got sober, I committed second-degree burglary with 8 years of sobriety, with bipolar, not able to think before I act, do stupid stuff. And here I'm looking at 33 years in jail, sober. Now, if I, with my bipolar, decided to start drinking again and doing coke, I'm going to be manic in no time, right? And when I'm manic, bipolar is one of these disorders that says I don't have a disorder, so I don't need to see the doctor now, right? I got this, and my thoughts are out of control, and can be going to treatment, but yet I start using substances, it's going to sabotage the whole thing. So psychiatry, substance abuse, it's co-occurring. There's comorbidity there. A lot of people with alcohol, drug use issues have mental health issues. They got to be treated together, plain and simple. So when my mom said that, I said, you know what, I'm going to get treatment. I went to see a doctor, and the doctor put me on a drug called Seroquel. And Seroquel, I shared yesterday, is like handcuffs on my brain. And I don't like handcuffs, right? I like being the life of the party. I like telling the funny jokes. I like being quick-witted, and this drug was not that. It just reined me in, very, very muted, monotone, but calm and stable. But the therapeutic dose for bipolar with Seroquel is somewhere between 300 milligrams and 800 milligrams. And she started me off on 300 milligrams. And I remember the first time I take it. Now, when a psychiatrist, a doctor has the initials behind their name, did the time in school, tells me this is what you need, this is how much you take, I do it. I don't question that. I've gotten beaten up before because I should question more. They're the professionals. I trust them, right? They take an oath. They're supposed to protect me. So I take it. I end up in an AA meeting that night, and I'm out like a light, like completely unconscious. Not like a high, like a nod, but just absolutely exhausted. And I didn't get sober to feel that way. I didn't like how it made me, feel. So I did not want to do that. So the next time I saw the doctor, I said, listen, can we go on less of a dose? And what she said is no. For bipolar, it's 300, 800, and that's that. Well, there's 299 milligrams. We're not trying because the book says 300 to 800 is for bipolar. So when I got to the psychiatrist I was court ordered to see. Now, when I say court ordered, I was court ordered to see a psychiatrist. The next piece of this is how to pick the right psychiatrist. So I found that psychiatrist. But he said, why not try 25 or 50? Yeah, that's what the book says. But, with each individual, it just varies, right? So that's what we did. So what I found almost immediately with this new psychiatrist is we don't have to go by the book. We're going to do what works for you. And that other psychiatrist was this is the way we're doing it. And I need you to know it is your recovery. This is your story. This is your body and mind. So yeah, they're a doctor. They've done the schooling. We can trust them. But at the end of the day, we are the authors of our existence. We're the ones that are going to decide what's going in our body, how much, etc. So what I would say is do the research, check to see what the drugs are going to do, see what's working out there, read the reviews, and be able to make more informed decisions between this medication, and this medication, because though they're similar and they might all be antidepressants, one could be a time release, right? And so one fast acting, and all of it matters. So, do the work, but So that first psychiatrist did not work. Now, what I shared yesterday is shortly after that with the bipolar, I'm borderline unemployable. I'm job to job. So when you're job to job and you can never make it past the 90-day probationary period, getting health insurance was tough for me. So it was hard to get access to care with no health insurance. One of the drugs that I took alone was $400 a month. I made too much money from Medicare or Medicaid. So, I was kind of stuck. So for a while there, I wasn't getting treated and I wasn't paying $400 a month for medication. So I stayed untreated, and that led to a lot of trouble and then eventually second-degree burglary. And all I can say about that is that was a night where my dad relapsed. He brought me into sobriety and had 6 years at that point, and now he's used. And I'm a mess. And the only good thing that came out of that was I chose to burglarize a storefront than drink or use drugs or doing something else destructive. So out of that was court-ordered psychiatry. So now I have to go. Now at this point, I've got health insurance through my union. I'm able to self-pay. So between what they offer and what I pay, I have really good health insurance. So I'm going to be completely honest with you. Having the experiences I had with the other psychiatrists, I took picking my next psychiatrist out it was crucial. It was very important to me to do this right. So what I did was I got out, there's therapy or psychology.com. You can go there and you can look up clinicians. I looked at I researched, you get, first of all, with your insurance company, you can get a provider list of the people that are in network, the psychiatrists you can see. And I took every one of those names and I researched them to most research I could do. Any website I could find out what college they went to, theoretical model of choice. Are they Freudian? Are they are they psychoanalytic? Are they reality therapists? Like, I did all the research that I possibly could. But one of the most important factors, and this is where I got to be honest with you, and there wasn't racism in this, but I looked for an American name. If it was Indian, if it was Asian, I tried to find an American name. And my thinking there wasn't, they didn't know what they were doing, right? It was communication and barriers with communication. And that if I wanted to understand fully my treatment, what I was taking, I wanted to be able to communicate with my physician, have them understand me. And that was important. So for me, that was like one of the biggest things is I made sure I found an American. His name was Dr. Chiavarelli. I walked into his appointment. The first appointment, I was 15 minutes late. I was always, running around late, ADHD, scatterbrain, bipolar. And I can remember sitting down and I started off telling him about myself. And I said, I have issues with grandiosity. I mean, I think I'm the most important person in the room. I always overvalue myself. And, I think I'm this great guy and I do all this great stuff. And the people around me doesn't match what they think. So, he said grandiose, like showing up to my appointment 15 minutes late and thinking that you could do that. And I knew from the moment he said that he was the doctor for me, because if he didn't seem like a guy that I could run over, he seemed like a guy that would call me out on my crap. And anybody that is hesitant to call me out on my crap, anybody that I think that I can steamroll, I'm gonna run right over you. So to have a doctor sit there and go, showing up to my appointment as late is not okay. Right. And that's mental disorder, told me that I was in the right place. And this relationship, again, him willing to try things that maybe weren't textbook, that maybe would be right for me, was huge. And we went along this process. I took 2 mood stabilizers, Depakote and Lamictal, and both worked great. And this is another important part about psychiatric treatment. And there's no getting around the fact that this can happen. And when it does, how many people, I don't know, get diverted or quit, give up on treatment because of something like this. I don't know. It saddens me to think that it probably happens more than you'd think. But what happened with me is I got a phone call from my psychiatrist. My blood work came back and Depakote was destroying my kidneys. And I had to stop it right away. So I'm like an elephant that you got to shoot with a bazooka to slow down. And you're taking away one of my biggest mood stabilizers and the one that was working the most. And I'm left with the other mood stabilizer, which wasn't enough. So the supplement was Seroquel, which was this drug that made me sleep, that took away all motivation to do anything, and felt like handcuffs on my brain. And I didn't want to take it. And when the prescription ran out, I didn't fill it. And that was a Thursday. And by Saturday, I wasn't Jesus Christ, but I was a prophet. And you needed to hear what I had to say. And I was flying high, not ready to jump off a building and see if I can fly, but, shoot out with the police out in traffic, kind of manic. I was definitely there. And on Saturday night, because of the things that I was saying to my father and my mom, my stepdad, who's a physician, called me up and he said, Michael, you need to take double your Seroquel. Whatever your milligrams are, take double. And if it doesn't knock you out, you need to go to the emergency room and get yourself knocked out. And I did that. I listened to what he had to say. I took double the Seroquel. It did knock me out. I fell asleep in the morning. I got a call from my psychiatrist, and he said to come in. He told me that he has never seen a bipolar snap out of control as fast as mine does. And I shared yesterday that was the most important day of my life, because what he said seemed awfully similar to every friend's parent, teacher, my principals, football coach, lawyers, judges. They would just shake their head and they would go, I don't know what's wrong with you. You're a good kid. I don't know why you would do this. I don't know how this was possible. And what Dr. Chivarelli was said, I had this bipolar that snaps out of control faster than anything he's ever seen. The man's been a psychiatrist for 30 years. And here I sit, the example of a person who, of all the bipolars, it's the worst. It's that fast that I could, go from sober and skipping to work to see my dad when he relapsed, to burglarizing a liquor store and ending up looking at 33 years in jail. It explained everything. It validated all my issues. And what it said was to me that if I treat my bipolar, none of that other stuff's going to happen. And that's why it's the most important day of my life. From that moment forward, I accepted bipolar, and I accepted it as something I was going to treat for the rest of my life. And I have not had a psychiatry appointment within 3 months. I see my doctor either every month, depending upon where I'm at. Typically in the wintertime, seasonal depression and stuff like that, I'll see her, once a month or once every 2 months, but at least once every 3 months since 2006. So I needed to choose a psychiatrist that was flexible, that understood me, that spoke in a way that it could change my life, right? That one comment validated everything and made me want to accept treatment and treat myself for the rest of my life. And from 2006, when I had that conversation with him, to 2010, I earned 2 degrees in college. I got happily married. I was a liar, cheat, and a thief in every relationship I'd ever been in. I was not a cheat. I was not a liar. To that point, I was someone that I not that I didn't recognize, but just the best version of myself that I could ever possibly imagine. I owned a home in Patterson Park. I was a shop steward, probably had the 3rd best job in my union. And, life was beyond my wildest dreams. And I started to speed up. I didn't see it because it was tough to see with a good job and a wife and going to see my psychiatrist every 2 months. As I started to speed up, things started to happen. And from 2010 to 2017, I cheated on my wife. I got separated and divorced. I lost numerous jobs. So many things happened, which were so confusing to me because, again, I'm getting treated. I'm sober. I feel like I'm doing the things that I need to be doing. And yet I'm struggling and my life's falling apart. And the bipolar was speeding up. And I shared yesterday that Seroquel was the answer because it felt like handcuffs on my brain. And I hated it. But what I realize now, what I realize today is I need handcuffs on my brain. When there are times when I want to look at pornography, which is something that I don't want to do, when I'm talking to women that aren't my wife on social media, when I'm thinking things, I want to go to an Asian massage parlor because my back hurts. When I got that stuff going on and I got this sin and it's just speeding up and it's going to be the point where I can't stop it. I'm over that edge, right? It's so much easier to avoid temptation when you're not knee deep in it. If I take Seroquel, it shuts all that down. It kills the sin monster. I don't want any of that. And now it's a drug that I embrace, because before I turned my life upside down, I ruined my life. Today, I don't want to do that. So I'll do what it takes. And if that's taking a medication that I don't necessarily like how it feels, but it's going to save my life, I'm going to do that today. One thing about, psychiatry and kind of one thing I want to go back to the Depakote is understand that within this treatment of your mental disorder with your psychiatrist, sometimes things change. A medication starts to destroy your kidneys. The medication like lithium for me has a max amount of milligrams of 1,800 or it'll kill me. So for any reason we got to a point where my bipolar and the lithium wasn't holding me down, we could only take so much lithium, we'd have to make a change. I have a buddy of mine that I love very much from church who called me over because he was having almost a mental breakdown. And in looking at his medications, I realized that he was on I would say time release. He was on a fast release, right? Quick acting. When they refilled his prescription, they gave him the time release. And just that changed everything. The doctor's going to get it wrong. Something's not going to work. Something that's working is going to have to change. Your body chemistry is going to change. These things are going to happen. And the inclination will be to get frustrated and to quit. Because, for me, on that Saturday night, I'm super manic. I can't take Depakote anymore. I asked my doctor, I said, I'd rather die from kidney failure than untreated bipolar disorder, because that's how rough, being manic and out of control is. And I'd rather take the drug and die of kidney failure than separated, divorced, break a woman's heart, lose job after job. So things are gonna happen. Drugs are gonna need to change. Doctor's gonna get it wrong. Stay with it. Stay with it. It's a psychiatry is something that works. Medications work. Get out of the conspiracy theories that the pharmaceutical companies out to get you. Sure, I get it. I do. I understand to some degree. You look at the opiate epidemic and Purdue Pharmacology and the things that they did with OxyContin. Yes, 100%. But, when I was looking at 33 years in jail, I wasn't getting into conspiracy theories on pharmaceutical companies. I just wanted to be better. And I would have done anything you told me to do, right? To have a decent life, anything. So if that's, trusting a doctor and taking meds and figuring it out, that's what I was going to do. And that's what I did. Now, when I went to California, because in 2015, after the infidelity, my wife and I left, my ex-wife and I left for California kind of as a geographical cure, and things got worse. I found a psychiatrist right away, and that psychiatrist was the one that identified that ADHD was part of my deal. And so he wanted to treat the ADHD and wanted to do that with Adderall. Now, Adderall, you can get Adderall at 5 milligrams. You get Adderall all the way up to 35 milligrams. And he started me off on 30 or 35 milligrams right away. And I don't know how long it was when we started the Adderall, and I had my last manic episode in 2016, but I was so paranoid, pretty much thought my dad was kidnapped by the rehab that brought him to California, and the guys were ripping me off, and I thought my psychiatrist was trying to kill me, that he was like the movie The Fugitive. He was in with the pharmaceutical companies and going on cruises and stuff because he had Adderall pads and Adderall pens and Adderall paperweights, and I was manic as all get up. Here's a psychiatrist that is supposed to care about me and put me on a drug so high. He actually wanted me to come off my lithium. Didn't think I was bipolar because I'd never had the amount of depression to qualify in the DSM, the diagnostic criteria. If he'd have taken me off the lithium, he would have killed me, because no lithium on stimulants, it would have been a disaster. So that didn't work out. I can tell you today that psychiatrist lost his license. He might have been in with the pharmaceutical companies. I don't know exactly why he lost his license, but he almost killed me. So you're going to get doctors that don't care, right? Doctors that have other motives. So it's going to happen. But again, there's life with mental disorder where you're not treating it because you don't want to get burned by a doctor. You don't want to take meds, the conspiracy theories like science, whatever. There's that life. And how's that life worked out? well, it didn't work out for me. I was a college dropout, looking at 33 years in jail. Like it wasn't working out. And then there's going to professionals in psychiatry, which is proven, and there might be challenges, but I'm going to stick with what works for so many people than what I think that I need to do. I gave up, right? Thinking I knew what was best and doing what I thought I should do back in October of 2005. I was shot at in Druid Hill Park. And when that happened, I realized, you know what? I need to give up my will. I gave it to God, and he's done a great job with it. And I haven't taken it back since. So, that's what I've done. So, a decent psychiatrist. I told you how I picked mine. You have health insurance. You find your provider list. You go down that list. You research them to the hilt. You go to one. If you don't like the flow, the communication, you ask them certain questions. They're not flexible, right? They're not open to different possibilities. Time to go. There's another psychiatrist on the list, okay? The number one thing is that you seek treatment and you don't stop seeking it. You don't. So there's plenty of options out there. Now, for someone that doesn't have health insurance, I encourage you, and this is what I would have done for the research, and this is some of the resources I'll put out after this live, is that there are a number of qualifying conditions that will allow you to go on the exchange and Health Connection and get any health insurance policy you want, from a low HMO to a platinum PPO, right? Just depends on your age and the cost. For me at 44, a decent PPO policy might cost me $1,000 a month. When I was 24, it might cost $300 a month. But the bottom line is, when it comes to your best life, $300 a month for a health insurance policy to get you meds that are going to cost you probably $800-900 a month out of pocket to be stable, to be able to be a good employee, a good husband or wife, right? To be a good mother or father. It's pennies. It's pennies. So look at those qualifying conditions. Some example of those are, if you're Native American, you can get an insurance policy. If you just moved, you can get an insurance policy. If you were just divorced, you can get an insurance policy. If you left your job, you can get a new insurance policy. There are so many reasons to be able to get an insurance policy, probably 15 of them. Look them up. If you apply by the 31st, you can have an insurance policy by the 15th. If you apply by the 15th of the month, you could have one by the 1st of the next month. So if you're struggling with mental disorder and you want help, find out if you qualify for those conditions. Another option are, there are psychiatrists that are cash pay. Go to psychology.com, okay? Search every psychologist, therapist, psychiatrist in the area, and it'll show you right on there if they're self-pay. If they're self-pay and you have a job but you don't have health insurance, go pay them. My psychiatrist, I feel like, is probably the best psychiatrist in the land, and he charged $60 for an appointment. It's stealing. I rob a bank to get that money if I had to, because my life depended on it. So for $60 is insane. It was great. So $60, I go see him. Now, Medicaid, if you make under a certain amount of money, you're unemployed right now, you can get a Medicaid card in less than 30 days. You'll have a provider, an MCO, which is a managed care organization, like an Aetna Better Health or someone like that will manage it, that has that list of providers for you. When I came home from California and I was trying to get employment, I had qualifying conditions to get an insurance policy, but not a lot of money. I got Medicaid for a couple months. I went to Mosaic Community Service. I had a great therapist, a great psychiatrist, and my meds were $1 a prescription. So if you are struggling with finances and you could qualify for Medicaid, you call up Medicaid right now. You call up the Maryland Health Connection right now. You find out if you have a qualifying condition, you sign up for a policy right now. Mental health matters. I can't say that enough. It's why I named this live Mental Health Matters. It's about matters with mental health, right? But treatment of mental health matters. And so you got cash pay. You can look into Medicaid. You can qualify for a policy under certain conditions. Now, there is something called open enrollment. I think it's about mid-November to the end of January. This is a time that you can Sign up for a policy. It's like open. You need no conditions. That's when you get your policy, and that's when you keep your policy, right? If you're young, if you're healthy, you have policy again for under $400 a month. You get it, you pay for it every month. That's that. Blue Cross and Blue Shield will let you buy the policy like 30 days down the road. You can get the policy, and then you can owe them money 30 days till you start getting treated. And if you don't have the money, and I assure you, if you start getting treated and employment's an issue because of your disorder, and you start getting treated, employment won't be an issue, and you can pay for the policy. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm saying accept your mental disorder, get help. You'd be amazed what happens. You're amazed what happens to your life, right? I was hopeless. I had no idea what was wrong with me. I was court ordered to see a psychiatrist, right? I'm here to tell you that you don't need to be court ordered. But if you're baffled at life, if you're drinking too much, if you're using drugs, if your relationships are a mess, if you can't keep a job, if you are sleeping on somebody's couch, and you think you have mental disorder, I'm doing this because I know that if you accept it and you treat it, it's going to change your life, and you're going to change the lives of the people around you, right? What I'll say to someone that's a mom or a dad that loves their children, that has mental health issues or addiction issues, if you love your kids, stop killing their mom. Stop killing their dad. Get help. Get help so you can help them and raise them right. My mom led me into psychiatry. She put an importance on it that I understand today, and she saved my life because she was there to be a good mom with that. So I think that covers it. You know, the importance of finding the right psychiatrist for you, someone you can communicate with, someone that's flexible, someone that's open-minded, how to get insurance, which I will provide a lot more resources. I was vague, but I will provide you with the links, the conditions, the costs, everything possible, that if you're ready to get help now, right? Today is probably the 15th, which would mean if you didn't get it in by day, it would actually, that's what it is. If you don't get it in by the 15th of the month, it's the first 45 days from now. So you want to get your insurance application on the 15th so you can have it by the first of the month. It's huge. So finding a right psychiatrist, insurance, and the practice of psychiatry is just being hit or miss sometimes. The meds working, then they're not working, or you can't take them. You know, the many options that are available, time release, quick acting, do the research. If the psychiatrist isn't working, find a new one. Just don't give up. Just keep trying. So, that's what I wanted to pass on today. Again, if you got any value out of this, if you just want to say hi, all of it matters. Anytime you comment, share, like, all of it gets through an algorithm. And then, I have 0 people watching on Facebook or YouTube, and I have 0 people watching on Instagram. I'm talking to myself, which is fine. Like I said, I'm my favorite subject. As long as I'm not answering myself, I'm okay. I can talk to myself all I want. But if you share, comment, like, tomorrow it's going to be 3 people. The next day it's going to be 7 people. And then eventually it's going to be somebody that you care about who doesn't want to live anymore. Who's hopeless, at rock bottom, and has no idea what's wrong with them. And they're going to stumble upon this link. And that's precisely not only, my passion, but what I was built for, what I was saved for, what I got treated for, was for that person to listen to this and go, wow, there's hope. I'm bipolar. My life's a wreck. If I go see a doctor, he can help. I'm going to see a doctor, they're going to get help. It's going to change your life. That's why I'm doing this. I'm Mike Towers, again, the CEO of Speaking of Your Success, speakingofyoursuccess.com. Find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook, YouTube. If you got anything out of this, send me a comment, direct message me if you have any questions. And for anybody that listened to this, even for 10 seconds, I'm honored. Even though I'm my favorite subject, I really don't expect that of other people. So I love every one of you, and have an amazing day.